Chapter 6: Professional Development. When we stop learning, we stop leading. Mary sat in her office late one afternoon, listening carefully as Jan, a newly qualified teacher, shared her frustrations. "I just don't feel equipped," Jan admitted, her hands nervously twisting the strap of her bag. "Yesterday, a student had a meltdown in class. I knew he wasn't just being difficult, but I didn't know how to respond. I ended up sending him out and I felt awful afterwards." Mary could see the exhaustion in Jan's eyes. The passion for teaching was there, but so was the weight of responsibility. She remembered her own early years, fumbling through complex situations without the tools or language to help students who carried invisible burdens into school. That evening, as Mary reflected, she realized that Jan's struggle wasn't about competence. It was about confidence and preparation. If staff were to truly remove barriers to learning, they needed more than subject knowledge and behavior strategies. They needed ongoing professional development that equipped them for the real, messy, human work of pastoral care. The turning point came a week later when Mary gathered her team for a twilight CPD session on trauma-informed practice. The room shifted as staff shared experiences, asked honest questions, and practiced de-escalation techniques together. Jan left that session with tears in her eyes, not from despair, but from relief. She finally felt supported, part of a learning community that was as committed to her growth as it was to the students. For Mary, that was the moment she knew. Professional development wasn't an add-on. It was the alchemy that could turn staff uncertainty into skill, burnout into resilience, and fragmented practice into collective strength. Why CPD is important and how it links to pastoral care. It's not just about keeping up with new teaching trends or meeting performance targets. At its heart, it is about equipping people with the skills, wisdom, and confidence to meet the complex needs of children and young people. Schools are no longer just places of academic teaching. They are safe havens, therapeutic spaces, and social hubs for children navigating poverty, trauma, neurodiversity, and family instability. For staff to hold these roles effectively, they must be trained not only in curriculum delivery, but in trauma-informed practice, understanding how adverse experiences shape behavior, de-escalation, and conflict resolution, keeping students safe without escalating harm, mental health first aid, recognizing signs of distress and knowing how to respond, cultural competence, being aware of the diverse backgrounds students come from. Without this professional learning, even the most caring staff can feel powerless. But when CPD is prioritized, schools create a workforce that is confident, compassionate, and aligned with the school's vision. Developing key practices. Mary introduced several practices to embed CPD as a living, breathing part of school culture. Monthly twilight workshops on topics like restorative practice, SEND strategies, and anxiety support. Peer learning circles, where small groups of staff reflected on real student case studies and shared strategies. External expertise, inviting charities and health professionals to run sessions on safeguarding, mental health, and child protection. Action research projects, where staff trialed new strategies, reflected on their impact, and presented findings to colleagues. One powerful example was the Calm Classrooms initiative. After CPD on self-regulation, teachers agreed on consistent routines, calm starts to lessons, breathing breaks, and reflective exits. Within a term, behavior incidents dropped significantly, and students reported feeling safer and calmer in class. Professional development became the bridge that allowed staff to step fully into their role within distributed care, the shared responsibility for every child's well-being across the whole school community. Through targeted training, staff gained both the knowledge and confidence to see pastoral care as part of their daily practice, rather than the responsibility of a small, overstretched team. It provided a common language and consistent strategies, so whether a student was in maths, at reception, or on the playground, they encountered adults who responded with empathy, clarity, and calm authority, staff who spoke with one voice. This consistency reassured students that they were surrounded by people who understood and cared, while staff felt more connected to one another, knowing they had the tools and support to make a difference. In this way, students rarely slipped through the cracks because every adult was prepared to play their part. Translating into daily practice. Mary knew that CPD only mattered if it was visible in the corridors and classrooms. She made sure professional development translated into daily life by visible cues, posters in staff rooms, reminding teachers of de-escalation language, policy alignment, CPD themes built directly into the behaviour and safeguarding policies, student recognition. Students were taught the same language, e.g., repair, not punish, so they noticed consistency in staff practice. Celebration rituals. At weekly briefings, staff shared wins from applying CPD strategies, reinforcing learning through storytelling. An example was the Repair Not Punish pledge. Every teacher signed it after CPD on restorative practice. Soon students began to echo the same language, saying things like, "Can we repair this, miss?" Evidence that CPD had seeped into the culture. Training in behaviour as communication helped staff shift from seeing disruption as defiance to recognising it as a signal of unmet need. The approach was firm but fair, and sanctions still had their place. Staff learned to look beyond the surface of shouting, refusal, or withdrawal, and ask what was driving the behaviour: anxiety, sensory overload, hunger, or unresolved trauma. Role-play, case studies, and reflective discussion enabled staff to practice spotting early signs of dysregulation and respond with curiosity rather than judgment. Instead of asking, "What's wrong with you?" they began to ask, "What's happening for you?" This change in mindset not only de-escalated situations more quickly, but also deepened trust, as students felt understood rather than punished. By looking behind the behaviour, staff uncovered the stories that shaped each child's actions, allowing them to respond with strategies that supported regulation, restored calm, and removed barriers to learning. Sustaining and reflecting. Professional development cannot be a one-off event. Mary built sustainability into the system. Annual CPD audit. Staff reflected on their growth and identified new needs. Student feedback. Learners shared how staff responses made them feel supported or not. Evolving focus. When mental health needs rose post-lockdown, training shifted to include bereavement support and resilience building. One year, a staff survey revealed that many felt unprepared for supporting students with additional needs. In response, Mary commissioned training from an autism specialist. Within months, classrooms adapted with visual timetables, sensory corners, and clearer routines, changes that students with autism described as life-changing. Before Mary's CPD vision, some staff felt isolated, unsupported, and reactive. Teachers handled crises differently, leading to inconsistency and frustration for students. Staff like Jan left work drained, questioning whether they were good enough. After CPD was embedded, staff had shared language and tools for supporting students. Behaviour incidents reduced as teachers used de-escalation consistently. Students reported feeling safer and more understood. Staff morale improved as professional growth was celebrated rather than feared. The ripple effect was unmistakable. Parents noticed calmer children at home. Students became more engaged in lessons. Staff turnover dropped, replaced by a culture of growth and belonging. It was alchemy in motion. Fear turned into confidence, chaos into calm, and isolation into community. Professional development is not about ticking boxes. It is about lifelong learning by equipping staff with the skills to change lives. Mary learned that when staff grow, students grow. When staff feel empowered, students feel safe. When staff are trained in compassion and consistency, students experience a school where barriers crumble and possibilities expand. Professional development is the golden thread that binds together purpose, policy, priorities, promotion, and people. It ensures that every vision becomes action and every action becomes transformation. Reflective questions for this pillar. How effectively does our current CPD program prepare staff to support students' emotional, behavioral, and social needs alongside academic progress? In what ways can we ensure that professional development opportunities are tailored to the specific pastoral challenges our school community faces? How do we currently evaluate the impact of CPD on staff practice and student outcomes? And what additional measures could strengthen this process? What systems can we introduce to encourage peer learning, mentoring, and collaboration so that professional development becomes part of everyday practice? How can we create a culture where professional development is seen not as an obligation, but as an opportunity for growth, empowerment, and transformation?